The DFES national strategy suggests that in any classroom, up to 10% of the pupils can be defined as gifted and talented. Talented is used to describe pupils who have advanced skills or aptitudes in music or other performing arts, or in sport or PE. Gifted describes pupils with great ability or potential in academic subjects, and it can be difficult to meet the needs of these pupils in the classroom. This is Hyams Park School in North London, where gifted and talented teaching is well developed. In this programme, we'll look at some of the gifted and talented teaching strategies used in the school on a typical day. This gifted and talented Year 7 English group is discussing some of the ways that language is used by writers to communicate their meaning, work normally done in Year 8.
So you've picked out describing appearance as a technique the writers are using. She's in morning clothes. What else are we told about her appearance and what might it make us think? What are we told, Emma?
That she's got unusually dark brown eyes for one so fair, so she's quite an unusual sort of person.
Now, does that reflect, why do you think the writer wants to tell us then she's an unusual sort of person for one so fair? Is that meaning that her appearance reflects her character?
Well, it could.
How could it?
Well, she could be quite a secretive character, who's quite lonely or not got many friends.
Okay, excellent. Any other things in that first passage that describe her appearance?
It makes her sound all nice and beautiful and innocent and everything.
And do you think, Emma, that the person that's been described, does that sound like the sort of person who usually kills a man?
Not really, no.
Why not?
Because, like I said, she sounds quite a shy person and not got many friends. And then at the end it says she's going to kill a man in the next 15 minutes.
Excellent. Why do you say she's not got many friends?
Well, it just doesn't seem so, really.
Is there any word there that actually tells you that?
That she was a person of 16 or so, alone.
Okay. Now, does that fit into anything else that's been said in the passage, why she might be alone? How's she dressed, Ilyas?
Like someone's died.
Okay.
So that means like that she, because it might be like her mum died and she wants to be by herself.
Okay. Cool, Max.
You sometimes can tell how, by their appearance, how they are.
Mm-hmm.
So, because she's like really pretty, some people would think, oh no, she wouldn't have done that.
Do you have a fourth technique that you think writers will use?
Like they described it sitting.
Most Year 7s are still going to work on a fairly surface level as to what the writers are actually creating, and I think you saw today how they were actually very quick to deduce meanings, to read in between the lines. So they're seeing that when they're doing their own writing or reading somebody else's, it's not what's said, it's what's not said. How do you feel about that character, having read that extract? What does it make you think?
This is a Year 11 English class. They're all working on The Laboratory, a poem in the GCSE set anthology. The teacher has set the groups different aspects of the poem to work on, with more challenging concepts for the gifted and talented pupils to consider.
Alright, what is the effect of the poem of not referring to this woman by name?
She doesn't have to feel guilty because it's not a real person if you don't use them by name.
And there's also rhyming couplets like grim, dim, stir, prefer. And it's because of the enjoyment, like the run-on lines, that the reader doesn't really notice basically the rhyming bits.
Yeah, because she's got the love and hate contrast in that one, but that one's definitely slightly strong female.
They're both sort of like poisoned because she's getting poisoned by the
inside. She's getting poisoned,
and that mentions poison because the whole thing's about making poison.
Those particular students who are particularly able within English will pick up on subtext and on essential meaning very, very quickly. So it gives them the opportunity to move beyond that and to think how it relates to other poems by other authors and to make those links, as they will do, much more quickly than the others. So it's very valuable for them because they're engaged and they're stretched, but it also means that they can then impart that to the rest of the group and their feedback.
In Havisham, she's very confused because she's in her own isolated world, and the use of commas and the
This group are comparing The Laboratory with Havisham, another poem in the anthology.
In the laboratory, she's very determined to get the poison.
Well, when she uses enjambment in Miss Havisham, there's a contrast because in the laboratory there's like lots of single syllable words, which, as it says, shows the coldness and the deliberateness of her actions and how intent on revenge she actually is. They both use alliteration.
Now, that is an equation, okay? That's an equation. The line y equals 2x minus 2.
This top-set Year 7 maths class is working on how to plot straight-line graphs given their equations with the gifted and talented pupils in the class.
Yes, Jade?
The line starts where the extra bit is after the 2x.
Where the extra bit after the 2x, the number that you add on or subtract from at the end of the equation. Yes? So make a start on that.
Although maths is already taught in ability sets, the teacher still needs to stretch the gifted pupils with more challenging work.
Look at these lines here.
How to work out the equation if you're given the straight line graph.
So, where does this line go through the y-axis?
-2.
-2. So will that be part of your equation?
Yeah.
That will be part of your equation. Where does this line cross the y-axis? 1? Will that be part of your equation? Yes. Okay. So you've got part of your equation, and that part is the
end.
The end? You have to discover what the number in front of x is. Okay?
So what will the class teacher expect from his more able pupils after this session?
I think next lesson I'll be able to get the best in the class to actually write an equation of a straight line, given the straight line on a graph. Right.
This is a netball session for Year 9 girls. It can be difficult to include pupils who are outstanding at sport in the regular school classes, but Hyams Park have managed to overcome this. Running the line in this netball game is not a teacher, but one of the pupils. Georgina is already a county standard netball player and wouldn't gain much from playing in the game.
Rachel, behind the line.
However, she can use her expertise by being one of the umpires.
Natalie, take it again. Your foot's got to be behind the line, yeah?
Georgie's a gifted and talented pupil within PE and within netball, which was this lesson. So it's just furthering her knowledge and understanding of taking on board another role rather than being part of the, well, rather than being the pupil within the lesson, she's taken on the teacher's role.
Georgina also takes the rest of the class through their stretching exercises.
Georgina's taken on the role as the teacher in this part of the session, where she's taking and leading the group, going through the stretch and doing the teacher's role to extend her knowledge and understanding of muscle groups and why we'd warm up and why we'd stretch.
Go forward. Okay, now see if you can go one back.
This particularly helps Georgina with her GCSE in physical education.
So obviously I'm taking PE for GCSE and it's like good to know what muscles what and that, and like analyse people, and yeah, I enjoy doing it because they all listen and that, and you just feel like helpful as well. Like you feel like they want you to be there and help them and that. Bring your knee in, toes touching your other knee. Focus on staying on the floor if you can't balance.
How much copper is formed at an electrode?
This Year 11 science lesson is about obtaining copper by electrolysis with differentiated questions from the teacher.
Can you give me another label on the board and tell me what that part of the...
He starts with basic knowledge recall.
Asti, can you give me label 4 and tell me what label 4 is, please?
Is that the anode?
It is the anode, and the anode is the...
The positive terminal.
Not the positive terminal, but the positive...
Electrode.
Thank you very much, excellent. Who can tell me some of the factors that may affect...
He then moves on to more challenging questions that require better explanations from the more gifted.
Could the concentration of the copper sulphate affect it?
Yeah, excellent. Alex?
Could the current affect how much copper's formed?
Can you just tell me what prediction you would make regarding the current and explain that in terms of the electrodes that would be involved?
I think if the current was increased, then more copper would be formed at the cathode.
That's a great idea. If you increase the current, more copper formed at the cathode. I was employing a range of questioning techniques across the ability range. Some of the more simple recall questions I would address to the less comfortable or confident members of the group, but to the more able members of the group I would use analysis kind of questions, predicting, putting together argument kind of questions to make sure that they were being stretched, but also the others would be able to learn from their answers as well. One that we've just not picked up, it depends simply on what.
This is a mixed ability Year 9 drama lesson, but with specific roles set by the teacher to stretch the gifted and talented pupils.
So what you've got to go and do is infiltrate the scenes as the gutter press, okay? And you've got to try and interview all of these people, and I want all the gory details of the event.
The scenario is a police siege at a school shooting, and each reporter has to find out what they can.
I'm from The Sun. I'm history and an exciting story on this.
First with the medical team.
What's his name? Your name, please. I'm The Sun. In the corner now. Over.
Behind the police lines.
What are you doing? This is a very... What's the current situation? Who is this girl? What's happening? Dad, cheer up. What's happened?
With teachers holed up in the staff room.
What's happened? Maybe this...
And trying to bribe some children to tell what they saw.
How about 50 quid? Wait. Why are you coming up to us?
I deliberately placed at least one very able student within each group to make sure that they all achieve their potential.
All I'm asking is, who is this girl? How has she come to this?
I have no permission to speak.
They were obviously using the majority of the language in role, and they had to generate that dialogue and think of the particular words. They have to use a wider vocabulary, and they have to kind of run the scene, as it were, because the other people have a specific job to do and they can get away with doing more mind activities, whereas the person with the pen and paper obviously has to generate all of the questions and make sure that the scene's going in a particular direction.
And I'd just like to ask a few questions about the injured. I've got an exclusive story. Tiny Tots gets shot. 16-year-old out of control.
The principal's been shot!
Heroic principal faces death to save children.
No! What? News just in! Heroic cop cops it!
Round of applause, please.
So in this programme we looked at a gifted and talented English group moving on to higher level work, a GCSE English session where the gifted and talented were stretched by more complex tasks, a maths lesson with individual challenges for gifted and talented pupils, how to use the skills of a talented pupil in a whole class sports session, the use of challenging questions in a science lesson, and giving gifted and talented drama pupils special roles to initiate activities for the whole class.